Hello everybody, I'm Laura. While I'm waiting for some of you to come along, I'm just going to tell you what I'm drinking, which is what I tend to do on my webinars on Club Soda. I'm drinking crushed cocoa shells. How middle class is that, right? But it's not a hot chocolate, it's the actual real cocoa beans. I crush them up and put them in an infuser, and it creates this lovely dark sort of chocolatey type liquor, but it's not quite like a hot chocolate. So that's what I'm drinking now. I quite like it because it's not as many calories as hot chocolate. It's not quite as thick and dense, and I use the cocoa nibs that are left at the bottom to put on my yogurt the following day. So for those of you who are watching back, that's what I do while I'm waiting for people to come on the webinar. So let's see. So just to let you know that I have got my webinar for you planned here, and then I'm also keeping an eye on my iPad here in case of any questions, because they're sometimes quite hard to see on the phone. So I'm watching myself in several different places, which is always rather odd. Anyway, so I'm just going to pour this for myself, and I will drink this while I'm talking to you. You can normally get a couple of infusions out of it, which is really helpful. I'm Laura. I run Club Soda, and I set up Club Soda because 4 years ago, actually it's over 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, I realised that I was drinking every other day. I had no off switch, I couldn't stop, and so I realised that I really needed to do something about that. And so I went on a few training courses and really invested some time in working out how to change my drinking. And then I realised that there's actually nothing around for those of us who aren't dependent drinkers, but who are basically just a bit of a dickhead when it comes to alcohol. We're clever enough, we should know better, but somehow it's sneaked into our daily routine and is beginning to really impact on our lives. And I realised there wasn't anything there for people like us. So I've set up Club Soda, and you can search for us. We've got a group just like this one on Facebook as well. But we've got about 5,500 members, and we're growing, and we do online courses and support to help you change your drinking, basically. At the minute, I'm running a course for people over Christmas, because for lots of our members, this is their first sober Christmas. And as you can imagine, Christmas is the biggest, most triggery time of year, and some of them are going, how are we going to get through this? So we're doing a program on that. But what I wanted to share with you today was a bit about how, as runners, alcohol might affect you and your running, and then talk a little bit about how you might go about changing that. And just to let you know, I'm not just going to talk about being alcohol free. I'm going to talk about also about how to moderate your drinking, what I call cutting down, or moderate drinking, or mindful drinking, whatever you'd like to call it. We actually do a course that's mindful drinking, and a course that's taking a month off booze. The big secret is that all the tools and techniques you need to change your drinking, whether you're moderating or quitting, are the same. But if you're moderating, it's a little bit harder, because, you know, some days you're drinking and some days you're not. So that's what causes the issues. But anyway, I digress. So first of all, for you as runners, there's some really important things for you to know about alcohol. It affects your running. So for every run you do, if you're drinking the evening before or you're piling it away at the weekend, you're affecting your performance, you're affecting your ability to run. And I will tell you a few reasons for that. Firstly, alcohol dehydrates you. It treats you like a sponge. You'll know that because you'll wake up in the morning gasping for water, and it gets your kidneys to produce more urine, but it also dehydrates you. That's exacerbated when you exercise and sweat. So if you exercise on a hangover and you're sweating, that increases the dehydration. Dehydration prevents blood from circulating oxygen and nutrients through your body, and therefore increases the risk of sustaining injuries like cramp, muscle pulls, strains, musculoskeletal injuries. So just so you know, that dehydration does impact on your running routine. So if you do go on a big night out, make sure that you drink lots of water the following days, and that I mean days, not just like the morning after, as all that alcohol you've absorbed has a negative impact on the water balance in your muscle cells, which in itself begins to affect all of the different parts of your body that affect endurance. So if you're running, which is endurance, for a few days afterwards, you're affected by alcohol. Actually, it probably takes 2 or 3 days after a good old weekend to get all that alcohol out your system for it to stop affecting your running and your performance. Secondly, alcohol steals your vitamins. It's a real bastard like that. It affects the stomach lining, so it affects how much of your nutrients like B12 and everything that you absorb. So if you're taking your multivitamins in the morning and drinking in the evening, that's affecting what you do. Obviously also alcohol contains a lot of calories. They're about 7 per gram, but rather than absorbing it different ways, your body treats alcohol as fat, converting your alcohol sugars into fatty acids. Again, that affects the way that you absorb your nutrients and minerals, and also it attacks your liver toxins. That it releases liver toxins that then affect your testosterone, and that affects the way that your muscles grow and regenerate, which can impact on your fitness levels. So dehydration, vitamin and nutrient depletion are 2 reasons why alcohol really screws with your running routine. It also means, I always really laugh, I mean, I'm not a runner. I did do a little bit of running actually after first joining this group some time ago, but I always laugh at those people who go and do a run on a hangover, because actually they're probably not doing themselves much good because of dehydration and nutrient depletion, but also because you'll be doing lots of pain for very little gain. Protein synthesis is a process by which your muscles recover, grow and adapt following a workout, and alcohol affects that whole muscle protein synthesis. So again, it can affect your training regime. So for no other reason alone, the fact that you may be working up towards a big run next year means that your workouts won't be as impactful as you hope they might be. The other thing that always I get lots of questions about is the fact that people expect to lose weight a lot quicker than they do when they give up drinking, and why aren't they losing weight, and is it because I'm stuffing the Haribo in my face instead of drinking? Well, that's one issue, and I'll come on to that in a minute. But the other is alcohol screws with your metabolism totally, and not only can does it slow it down, and it can take months and even years for it to recover, but also you've probably piled on weight because of it, or you've been a skinny drinker where you've drunk and not eaten food, and you've got other deficiencies in other places. And I must say, it took 3 months for my body to really shake out my drinking. By the end of that 3 months, I happened to be a volunteer on the Olympics, and so at the end of that 3 months, I turned up at 6 a.m. in the morning, feeling like I was like some athlete at the Olympic Village, because suddenly my body had begun to sprung back into action. So even though you might have a marathon in April, it could take a good 3 to even 6 months for your body to really feel the benefits of not having alcohol in it. So now really is a good time to start, even though Christmas is upon us. So I've talked to you a little bit about vitamins, pain and gain, dehydration and weight. The other thing that is really affected by alcohol is your sleep. So again, if you're trying to get good sleep in order to train, you might want to cut out the drinking, because again, your sleep could get worse before it gets better after you've given up drinking, especially if you use it as a way to get to sleep in the evening. But you are more likely to have more deep sleep cycles without alcohol in your system. It really does wake you up, and partly that's because the dehydration wakes you up, but also because you've put a mind-altering substance in your body. That's the bottom line of it. And so it is, of course, going to have some impact on your brain as well as all the other functions in your body. There is I read a study a while ago that says really the first drink you drink in a day should be called medicine, and then every drink after that should be called poison, because your body, the only reason why we can process alcohol is because we have 2 units of it naturally made in our body every day, because we have a fermentation process that goes on in our stomach, but we can't process that much, and so our body processes alcohol as a poison, and the more you overload it, the more trouble it has in processing it. I didn't know any of this until after I gave up, by the way. So I now sit and think, "Ooh, thank goodness." And then I also wrote an article about alcohol in the menopause a couple of weeks ago, and nearly everything that the menopause does to you, the alcohol makes worse. And so part of me is also quite pleased that at my stage of life, I have made that choice. Anyway, I digress, and I'm just checking there aren't any questions. So I've talked to you about weight and all those sort of things, and sleep. And also just to let you know that because you're running, you're probably thinking quite a bit about your diet. And I will talk to you a bit about your diet in the next few bits, because that's quite important to dealing with the cravings that you might have for alcohol. Although, don't worry people, it's not cravings, it's discomfort. And I will tell you a little bit more about that. But the bottom line is, the good diet that is for everything else is good for this too. So if you're already getting your eating into shape, that's a good sign. So how do you go about changing your drinking? So I want to say a few things first. It's actually quite hard, and it's quite hard for a number of reasons. And one is, as you will know, it's deeply embedded in our culture. When we want to celebrate, we have a drink. When we want to commiserate, we have a drink. When we're happy, we have a drink. When we're sad, we have a drink. In fact, there's some received wisdom that from the age you start drinking, you slow down your emotional maturity because you've dealt with everything through alcohol. And actually, I can totally get that. I started drinking when I was 14. And now I'm actually having to learn to deal with my emotions. It's what we call in Club Soda living life in high definition. I was telling you about how difficult Reezy is. It's not easy because we're quite hardwired. Our brain's hardwired for any of those emotional situations to go, "Ooh, the answer's alcohol. Ooh, the answer's alcohol." And it's taken me over 4 years to really unpick all of that hardwiring. And to realise that no longer is my natural inclination when I'm tired, when I'm hungry, when I'm thirsty, to go and reach for a drink, basically. So it does take a while, and I always say it's a marathon, not a sprint, which you guys will be used to. So do be patient with yourself. It's something really hard, and we know it's hard because if it wasn't, more people would do it, because 1 in 5 people desperately want to change their drinking and are finding it really hard. So I just want to give you that confidence that this is a journey worth starting, but there will be ups and downs, and stick with it because it will really be worth it in the end. Then the key component to changing your drinking, just like if you were setting up running, is to have a plan. Now I'm going to talk to you a bit about how to plan. Now, if you're planning to go alcohol free, my suggestion is you might want to, whether you're looking to moderate or go alcohol free, think about doing a hard reset. Think about taking a month off drinking, because you will learn a lot about your relationship with alcohol, the type of drinker you were, the things that trigger you to drink, and how you react to those triggers over a month off drinking. And then afterwards, if you decide to moderate or you decide to go for a bit longer, you will have the tools to equip you to go a bit further. This is a behaviour change process about not having alcohol in your life is a behaviour that you may not be used to having, and so learning about what that feels like is really important. And if you're setting a goal to go alcohol free, you might want to set a time limit. You may want to just see how it goes day by day. It's up to you, but setting a goal is really helpful. If you're setting a goal to moderate, that's slightly harder, because I can promise you your alcohol-free days will be slightly easier than your drinking days, because once you've got alcohol in your system, it hits your pleasure centres and goes, drink more, drink more, drink more. And it's very hard to say, well, I'm going to stop after 2 drinks once you've actually got alcohol inside your system. A lot of my members also talk a lot about the fact that actually they end up thinking the whole week about and planning their weekend drinking. So they end up thinking more about alcohol because they're moderating than they were when they were even drinking or giving up. So that's just some top tip that may help you. But if some of you are running a marathon, then you may want to think about how you go beyond that marathon. The next thing is to plan. And I suggest that before you start a plan, you might set a baseline, because sometimes changing your drinking involves lots of really small changes that you might not notice. And on the days when you feel like you're depriving yourself and you're not doing very well, or you deserve to have a drink, because of course it's part of our reward structure, you will find it hard to remember the things that you're benefiting from changing your drinking. So you may want to use a Fitbit to monitor your sleep, or monitor your relationship with food, relationship with spending money, how many days in the week that you may or may not be hungover, monitor your energy levels, and just do that on a daily basis so that you can look back and say, well, actually, my sleep's improving, my energy's improving, and so on. So you might want to set a baseline so that you can see what improvements have been made, even though they're small. Also, I suggest that you then start to plan your week ahead. And I've just got some notes up here for you. The better you plan, the more likely you are to succeed, because whether you like it or not, there will be internal triggers that come up that really throw you off course. You may be tired, hungry, thirsty, lonely, had a stressful day, somebody may have really annoyed you, and so on. So you need to know what happens when things throw you off course. So I suggest that every day you sit down and you have a bit of a routine that says, right, what's my commitment for today? My commitment is not to drink any alcohol today. What's happening today that might trigger me? Is it a Friday, so I'm used to going out after work? Is it once the kids have gone to bed and I'm used to opening a bottle of wine? Is it because I see alcohol as a reward and I want to reward myself having a good day or a busy day? Yes, Julie's here! A busy day. So have a look at what your commitment for the day is. Review what's coming up, and then look at how you replace those things with something else. So if at 3 p.m. you normally start thinking about having a drink, what are you going to do in its place? If you normally have a drink when the kids have gone to bed, what are you going to replace that with, and so on. So I find that a really useful daily routine, because lots of things can knock you off course when it comes to drinking, and you might not have really thought about it. The other important thing is, for me, is what I call putting together a quick kit. Now, let me explain to you about cravings versus discomfort. People often talk about, oh, I'm craving a drink, and then that scares us all, because craving is a word that we associate with being dependent on something, and you can be dependent on alcohol, but I imagine that most of you aren't. You're regular drinkers and you want to cut it out or cut it down. If you're dependent, you will know, because you'll wake up with the shakes in the morning, you'll probably want to have a drink. Detoxing from alcohol is also more dangerous than heroin, so if you are dependent, you need to go into proper help and detox. But so for most of us, when we feel like a drink, we're not craving it because our body says we must have drink. What we're doing is we're feeling discomfort. We're feeling discomfort because we can't do what we normally do. We normally pick up a drink and we have it, and I can't have what I normally have. And our internal saboteurs going, no, you want to, and this feels difficult. People, you're going to have to ride that discomfort. Yeah, absolutely, Leslie. That happens with me at the minute with diet as well. You're going to have to ride that discomfort. Now, the important thing to know is that discomfort is not going to kill you, and it will go away. So that's the important thing to know. So whenever it comes up and your internal saboteur is going, go on, have a drink, push it away and go, no, I can get over this. But you can help deal with your internal saboteur and your feelings of discomfort. And one of those is to always have something at hand. So the minute you're going, oh, now I really fancy a drink, you can go, I don't need a drink because I've brought some really posh sodas from the shop. I brought some alcohol-free beers, and I highly recommend trying out alcohol-free beers, even if you weren't actually originally a beer drinker, which I wasn't. Find yourself some of the alcohol-free wines or adult soft drinks and have them ready. That could also include things that are sugary, like Haribo and sweets. You will get a sweet craving if you're giving up sugar because your body is wanting stuff. My view is deal with the alcohol, and you can deal with the sugar and diet later, because you will not be piling on the calories the day after that you normally do if you drink quite a lot in the evening. So, use some of them to help you deal with that immediate sense of discomfort. So have something that's quick at hand, have something in your pocket, have a drink that you know you're going to go to, have a thought that you're going to go to. When I feel like I really want to drink, I'm going to quickly do 20 press-ups. I'm going to run up and down the stairs. I'm going to walk around the block. Whatever it is, you need to know what that plan is, because honestly, it sneaks in so quickly, that desire to have a drink, that you can go, oh, fuck it, I'm going to press the fuck it button and just have a drink. So you need to really avoid doing that. I also recommend that you do some things that might take 20 minutes or longer, so that you can ride that discomfort throughout its whole length. I do a lot of online yoga. You might go for a run. You might read a chapter of a book. You might do any of those things, but definitely have something that you know that you want to do, so that you can get rid of that thought of discomfort. The other thing is to have some things that might last you, particularly if you're taking a month off or you're planning to go all the way, moderating or quitting until your marathon, is to have some things to look forward to that will carry you through the month. You know, are you going to get through a box set and only watch an episode when you've had a good day off booze? Are you going to do a class? Are you going to book a beauty treatment? Any of those things. Because don't underestimate how much alcohol is linked into our reward structure. So we think of alcohol as a reward. It's why we buy it as gifts and presents, which is, if you think about it, slightly bonkers. We're buying somebody something that's bad for them. But anyway, so you need to replace it, and so you need to build some new rewards in. So spend a good, hour or so thinking through a plan, but also planning all the things that make you happy, all the things that you enjoy, all the things that you consider a treat that aren't alcohol, so you can decide how you're going to reward yourself for getting to certain milestones. And certainly getting through the first 3 days is really difficult. And then getting through the first week, getting through your first social engagement is also really difficult, but I'll talk about that in a minute. So hard reset, quantify yourself, get some stats, get yourself a daily routine in, and get yourself a quick kit together so that you can make sure you nail this to the floor. The next is to execute this, and I'll talk a little bit about emotions and external situations. Firstly, your emotions are probably one of your biggest triggers. I used to drink when I was hungry. I used to drink when I was tired. I used to drink when I was thirsty. I used to drink when I was angry. I used to drink when I was happy. I used to drink. Honestly, there wasn't an occasion when I couldn't have a drink. There was always a really good excuse. And so you need to learn to be able to take a step back when you're feeling an emotion, and then you thinking of having a drink, and go, hang on a minute, what's happening here? What do I need to do instead? Do I need to find something to relax? Do I need to drink some water? Do I need to eat some food? And really think hard. I remember not long after giving up, I had a really stressful day at work, and I was thinking, oh, what do I do? What do I do? Now's when I'd have a gin and tonic and I'd go into a pub. And instead I went to Boots and bought a ridiculous beauty product. But actually it made me feel good at the time. It worked as a distraction. And then the following day I took it back. Win-win. So don't underestimate those emotions. Make you want to do something, and you'll have to have something in their place. And your internal saboteur will use those emotions against you. The second is external things. Now they're people, places and things, and they're everywhere. You may have people who are a trigger. You may have places that are a trigger. And you will have people who will say to you, are you drinking yet? Oh, go on, it's the weekend. Why don't you? And what I want to say to you most of all about all of this is treat yourself with consent. As women in particular, we're very good at giving in because we feel guilty. We're very good at giving in because we feel people expect stuff of us. We're very good at giving in because we don't want to stand out from the crowd. Now, I'm going to tell you that not drinking is the most rebellious act you can do at the minute, because society expects us to do it all the time. But actually, by not drinking, you're being kind to yourself. You are doing something, you're taking something away that ultimately isn't any good for you. And I haven't even touched on the fact that the cancer risk for women of drinking alcohol is just far higher than it is for men. So stop thinking of alcohol as something you're denying yourself, and seeing as not having alcohol as a way of treating yourself, and begin to treat yourself with consent. And say to yourself, going out with this person or going to this event, does it take me closer to my goal or does it take me further away? And if you think that this event today will take you further away because you will feel under pressure to conform or to have a drink, then don't go. Because you know what? It'll be fine. After 2 drinks, no one else gives a shit if you're there anyway, to be honest. And you're doing this for you. So go home, have a bath, read a book, do something nice, come online, go for a run, but treat yourself with consent. Now, you can't avoid every situation, but you can also plan for them, and you really need to have a real rock hard plan in place if you're planning to moderate or to not drink on an evening out. Take your own drink with you. I take my own drink to the pub. Nobody's thrown me out yet. If in doubt, small bottle of cordial in your bag, pimp your own water all evening, no one will care. Refuse the first drink. By the time people get to their second drink, they care less about you anyway. Get there early or get there late, get your own drink in, never participate in rounds. And if people really are putting pressure on you, then stop and say, hang on a minute, you, my friend, I am doing something for me. This is no reflection on you. I'm not asking you to not drink, but I would really appreciate it. I have set a goal for myself to not drink. I would really appreciate it if you could help me by not badgering me to have a drink, or coming to the cinema instead of the pub with me, or doing this or doing that. I find that the more specific you are with friends, the more you couch it in the I language rather than you or in recriminations, the more likely you are to elicit a positive response. After all, we all want to help our friends, don't we? And so if you can give your friends a very specific role, a very specific task, and ask them not to do it, then or what you do want them to do, then that will really help. The same with your partner. So I had a member who said that her and her partner really enjoy that time after dinner where they sit and have a drink and talk about the woes of the world. And she said, and so what she did said to her partner, I'm happy for you to carry on drinking, but I have decided drinking is no longer good for me. It would really help me if you could help me discover some new drinks that I can consider special, so that when we sit and have that time together, which I really enjoy, we can still enjoy that time together. The minute she co-opted him into her journey, it got a lot easier. Now, I don't for a minute imagine this will be all plain sailing, because some friends are really persistent. I suspect they're the friends that drink the most with you, and that's why, because they feel guilty too, and probably marginally jealous. So, but you do have to stick with your guns. So do find what you want to say and stick to it. And in some circumstances, you may want to use the I'm on antibiotics excuse after work, or you may want to organise your food delivery to come at 8 p.m. so that if you go for after work drinks, you can only stay for a short while. You may want to have a whole list of excuses depending on the people you're with. But for your closest friends, the people that you want to be your cheerleaders rather than your distractors, try and think through how you're going to talk to them and how you're going to co-opt them into your journey. So that's how you deal with difficult people. And so I did say to you, one of my favourite things is, does every time you go to do something, like eat something or drink something or run, you should say to yourself, does this take me further away from my goal or closer to my goal? If it takes me closer, then I'll do it. Further away, I won't. The other thing, a mantra that I particularly like is, if I say yes to alcohol now, what am I saying no to tomorrow or even later in the day? If I say yes to alcohol, what am I saying no to? And so on a Friday evening, when it's particularly difficult, you may have decided that your treat and your reward and your plan is to go for a run on a Saturday morning. If you say yes to alcohol on a Friday evening, you're saying no to a run on a Saturday morning. So those are some tips about how to execute. And after this, I'll add some different links into the threads so that you've got some things to do. The other thing I did talk about briefly is also non-alcoholic beers. So let me just tell you a bit about non-alcoholic beers, because I was never a beer drinker when I wasn't drinking. I'm not really a beer drinker now. But and I will send you a discount code, but I will tell you a little bit about non-alcoholic drinks. So non-alcoholic drinks or alcohol-free drinks are drinks up to 0.5%. You don't need a license to sell them. You will process the alcohol quicker than you can drink it. And although 0.5% is clearly a trace of alcohol, that's about as much alcohol as in your orange juice that's in your fridge on a Saturday morning, that's been in your fridge, because there would have been some natural fermentation. There's actually quite a lot of alcohol in the vinegar on your chips, for example. So I consider 0.5% drinks as being the best thing to do if you're giving up drinking but still want something that feels special. The great thing about beers and de-alcoholized wines as opposed to fizzy drinks is that while they have more natural sugars, they are far less than a fizzy drink. They are natural sugars. They've had no added sugar to them. A non-alcoholic beer, so a bottle of Nanny State, 26 calories a bottle, 3 ingredients, hardly any sugar in it. So you might want to play around and discover new beers, and there's a great website called drydrinker.com, and if you use the discount code Club Soda VIP, you can try out a mixed pack of non-alcoholic beers. The alcohol-free shop does de-alcoholized wines, so they're worth exploring. They will taste different. The beers tend to be better quality than the wines. They will taste different. But I want to remind you all that liking alcohol is actually a learned behaviour. We learn to like alcohol because we like the effect it has on us. So you know what? You can learn to like something else. It's true. So yes, do a park run on a Saturday morning. Okay, so I just want to also just touch on one other common thing. When we give up drinking, it's the same with diet as well, that we have this idea of 100% perfection in our head. We are going to be on a diet, it's going to last 30 days, and we're going to come out and we're going to look beautiful and wonderful like tape-up supermodeling. And the minute it goes wrong, we hit the fuck it button and we go, that's it, I'm a disaster, I'm a failure, I can't do this, la la la. And we forget the 29, 28, 27 days that we've done leading up to that, where we've been incredibly successful. This idea of going for 100% perfection destroys us as women. It's terrible. So I want you to be a healthy striver rather than go for 100% perfection. And you can deal with slip-ups, because every time you slip up when you change your drinking, you learn something else about your triggers. You'll be able to reflect and go, wow, how did that feel? What made me do it? Why did I do it? What part of my plan wasn't in place? And literally every time you learn, you build your resilience for the next sprint that you do without alcohol. So I hope that when you're going through your journey to change your drinking in the lead up to whichever run that you're doing, if you do end up drinking on a night that you didn't plan, and I'm not giving you like an excuse here to go and drink, I'm just saying that if you do, then I want you to pick up the following day and not give up, but sit and reflect about what you learned. Was it a person that pushed you? Was it a situation, a stressful situation? Why did you deal with that situation with alcohol? So it's a real common thing that happens, but actually learning lapses are really, really important part of your journey. And like I said, it's a marathon, not a sprint. I've given out loads of information, absolutely tons. The subject fascinates me. For someone who is a really heavy drinker and now not drinking, I find this really interesting. But most of all, I want you to treat yourself with kindness. Self-care is really important. You're doing something difficult, recognize that, and make sure that you treat yourself with love and attention and consent all the way through. Look back on this, but I'll also add some links in so that you've got something to look at, and some extra places to go. I run a program called The Mob, which I'm about to rename Sober Sprint, which seems very fitting for you guys, which is a whole program to take a month off booze. You're welcome to come and join that. You can find that on joinclubsoda.co.uk. It's also not too late to join my Christmas coaching program, which means you get loads more access to me, but also I'll be on hand if there's a particular party or an event that you're going to over Christmas and want someone to be there on hand on Messenger or text or phone to get through that event. Then you get that from me as well with our Christmas program. We also do a program called Mindful Drinking, which is good for anybody, but particularly if you're moderating, it takes you all the tools and techniques you need to change your drinking. They're all on joinclubsoda.co.uk under programs. We've got a regular blog, and if you type in Club Soda on Facebook, you'll also find our group, and you're welcome to join us there. I'll stick all of these links in this chain after this. And I haven't seen any questions apart from Julie going, yeah, she finally found us. So do come. Look, I'm on the group now. You can ask me questions and I'll do my best to answer them. But I can tell you that actually there are ups and downs to changing your drinking. Living life in high definition without the aid of alcohol can be really tough sometimes, but boy, the rewards are great, and I would really recommend it to you. It's definitely worth trying. Okay, I'll catch up with you all soon. Bye.